And we're live. We're live with a really big story today because I'll tell you this Letitia James thing. Oh my gosh. The gift that keeps on giving, shall we say, for us folks over here on YouTube. Unbelievable stuff. I mean, you can't make it up. How the heck is this woman, the Attorney General of a state like New York, Letitia James, facing now up to 60 years, okay? We were talking about 30 years before, but it gets worse. This thing has just imploded. It turns out she's got a couple of nieces. They've had some troubles with the law. They've been hiding out in the houses. I mean, it's seedy stuff. Seedy. I'm all over it. Meanwhile, you want to talk seedy? How about Shifty Shift? Adam Schiff, according to new reports, he is next in line for indictment. So let's say we had Comey, we had Letitia, we had John Bolton, and now, get ready, ladies and gentlemen, buckle up your seatbelts. Adam Shifty Shift, next in line, plus ABC News. You know what? You might want to rethink your weekend show with that George Stephanopoulos guy because Georgie Poo's in more trouble. Tom Homan is not thrilled with what he's considering pretty libelous. Some fake news out there making the rounds and really making the rounds over at ABC. Welcome to the program. You know that all of this is getting exposed right now, all of the corruption, thanks to Kash Patel and his extraordinary investigation. We are all over it as well. Welcome to the program. My name is Trish Regan. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff, because guess what? We're number 66 and counting. How about that? Last week. Not to mention, what are we, 1.1 million subs. I like it. I like it. Letitia James is flipping out. She's freaking out because guess what? The stakes just got that much higher. It just became that much worse. Letitia's in a whole lot more trouble, believe it or not. If you thought it was bad because she had one house that she was reportedly trying to get a deal on, calling it her primary residence, turns out now she has two houses. Oh, and that's not all, because apparently the houses are occupied by some rather dubious folks. Yeah, we told you about one of the houses. This is one of the nieces, the niece, who was an absconder. Nakia Thompson apparently was wanted by the law, was supposed to check in with her parole officer down in North Carolina, but she's been blowing that one off, yeah. And then there's this one's little sister and the two houses, right? There's got two houses, and each one gets a pad. And they are in trouble with the law. So let me get to this story. We've had both the Daily Mail, love them, as well as the New York Post reporting on this. Here's a New York Post graphic. I thought they did a wonderful job with this. A tale of two homes. You see, you have Auntie Tishy. She's the like mullah, okay, in the family. She's the New York Attorney General, you know, who's actually supposed to go after criminals. Well, she's got one niece named Nakia. It's a grandniece, sorry, Monique Thompson. That's been in serious trouble with the law down in North Carolina. She's the one that's avoiding parole, so she's considered an absconder. That carries with it certain penalties of its own, right, if you're hiding a fugitive, so to speak. And then you've got Kale, yeah, she's the other one. You saw her before with blue hair. Now it's red. I think, you know, she's all over in the mulberry bush. She lives in the other house. So there are apparently multiple nieces that have problems with the law. So just to get down into the nitty gritty here, again, the older one, that's her little sister, by the way, the other one that I just showed you. And these are some pretty like damning things. And granted, you know, hey, you can't pick your family, but I would say this, there is this little thing called Federal Law 18 U.S.C. 1071, and it basically means that you can't harbor a criminal. You can't knowingly. I mean, you got to prove intent here, but how would the aunt not know that her own niece was in trouble with the law? Just saying, okay? Because if, in fact, she's in trouble with the law, you can't have her hiding out in your house. Like, this is just really, really weird. Whoever harbors or conceals any person for whom a federal arrest warrant has been issued, knowing that such a warrant has been issued with the intent to prevent their discovery or arrest, you face a penalty of up to 5 years in prison and or a fine. If the fugitive is wanted for just a misdemeanor, well, then it would be up to 1 year in prison and or a fine. Now, it could get a little complicated because maybe this is a state case as opposed to a federal case, and so maybe the state of North Carolina is not invoking the same kind of penalties. But just to get down into the dirty aspects of what this is, here's the one that's like the OnlyFans, what do you call them? I was going to say model, but I don't really think that's appropriate. Anyway, New York Attorney General Letitia James, writes the New York Post, is housing a second criminal family. I mean, not one. She didn't have one house. She had two. And by the way, both of them are alleged to have had some funny business in terms of the mortgage documents, because she's calling one house her primary residence, she's calling the second house her secondary residence, then she lists them, or at least one of them, on financial documents as financial investments, as income properties. Well, income properties, they have a whole different mortgage rate than, say, a primary residence or even a secondary residence. But anyway, she's got a house, a big family full of criminals, apparently. The Post can reveal that she and her sister were partners in crime, written like the New York Post. James's grandniece, Kayla Thompson Hairston, 21 years old, who is an OnlyFans star. Oh, that's how they characterize it. She was charged in April 2024 with lying about her felony criminal record when she tried to buy a gun in Suffolk, Virginia, according to court docs, because Kayla was legally disqualified from owning a firearm due to an August 2020 felony charge of malicious wounding. Well, what the heck is that? I'm wondering. Well, it turns out Virginia law defines that as someone who shoots, stabs, cuts, or wounds any other person or any means causes bodily injury with the intent to maim, disfigure, disable, or kill. So that's not good. That's not good. But the nieces, like, they've been hanging out for a while. Again, they're sisters. Apparently, the 21-year-old who makes a living on OnlyFans, she was getting involved with her sister with problematic things as far back as 15 years old. Again, she had been disqualified from owning that firearm due to those previous charges. So here she is. Again, oopsie daisy. Let's see if we can get her in the picture. Again, 15 years old when she first started getting caught up in these, what they call criminal hijinks of her big sister, Nakia, who is wanted by North Carolina authorities with a slew of arrests. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I mean, like, does it not dawn on you for 2 seconds, Letitia, that you are the Attorney General? And, I'm not saying you got to pick your family. Like, I realize, this is probably not ideal for you. But maybe, like, you should just dot your I's and cross your T's. Maybe you shouldn't be harboring a criminal. Maybe you should actually be saying, okay, you have to go meet with your parole officer in North Carolina. Hey, maybe I buy you a house in North Carolina. I mean, what's the obsession with Virginia? Did you not think that this was going to come out? That's what's amazing. Like, these people are so conceited and so stupid that they don't think any of this is going to come out. Well, here's the deal. It's all coming out. And again, you're harboring effectively an absconder. This is possibly a federal offense. These are the two houses. Remember the Daily Caller a few months ago went to both houses? I remember being kind of confused at the time. I'm like, how many properties does this woman have? Well, take a look. At least 2 in Virginia.
Hi there. I'm
a
reporter with the Daily Caller News Foundation.
Goodbye. You're trespassing.
I'm sorry.
Trespassing. My kids are out here.
I understand. We mean no trouble. We're just curious who the occupants of the home are,
Don't
because
worry
there's
about who's occupants. That's none of your business.
well there are
trespassing.
connections to
Okay, but
New
you're
York Attorney
trespassing.
General Letitia
That doesn't
James.
matter. You're trespassing.
Are you related to
You're
Letitia James?
trespassing.
Do you know her?
You're trespassing. Go in the house.
Do you know
You're
Letitia James?
trespassing.
No? Okay.
You're trespassing.
No comment. Thank you,
Don't
ma'am.
pull up to my house no more.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. You have a good one.
It's gonna be problems.
You will.
call all you want.
Be well.
All right, we'll go to the second house. This is where Kayla lives.
There's a car parked in the driveway.
Hello there, ma'am.
I shouldn't
comment?
laugh. I really shouldn't,
Okay.
but
Who lives here?
Who lives here, ma'am?
I have no sympathy.
No comment. Okay.
No sympathy, considering what this woman did. You know what she was up to. We'll seize Trump Tower if we have to, right?
4 days after a judge ordered Donald Trump to pay $355 million for a decade of fraud, New York Attorney General Letitia James says she's prepared to do everything she can to make sure the former president pays his fine, including, she told us, seizing the buildings that bear his name.
She wanted
If he
to.
does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
She was salivating. I mean, she was literally salivating. I heard she was out at Bedminster, scoping out the property. Well, guess what? Tissue baby, it didn't work. Who are you going to give that to? Is that going to go to your nieces? I just ask. Your nieces, who clearly have their own issues, lots of run-ins with the law, and then have chosen a rather dubious career path. I'm just saying, Tissue baby, Not good, not good, not good. Okay, so again, here's how it unfolds. You get a tale of two homes and of two nieces. Nakia, who's an absconder, who is in trouble with the law in North Carolina, is supposed to be checking in with parole officer. She takes off and she gets housed, courtesy of Auntie Tish, in one Virginia house. And then next door, you got the other one, Kayla, hanging out there. And she's also got her issues with the law. So it's really pretty seedy stuff. It's pretty bad. And yet, Tish, she had to respond to this. This is new tape that just came in, and I want you to see this because she's super low-key. Don't forget how worked up she was the other night at the Mamdami Comrade Mamdami rally. Oh, did you see that debate? Loser, bad guy, would be bad for New York. Hopefully New York doesn't do something really stupid, but you never know. Anyway, Tishy decided to react, and she was quite measured in her reaction.
I would say what she said. But first of all, the decision was based on the Administrative Procedure Act, an arbitrary and capricious act by this agency, and an unlawful act. And so too is the indictment. It's baseless. It's nothing more than retribution. Retribution for basically doing my job. For doing my job following a 2-year investigation in a congressional hearing. It wasn't political. It was based on facts and the application of the evidence. And the judgment was sustained. The amount of the disgorgement was what was dismissed. But the judgment remains. And so at this point in time, we will vigorously defend those charges, those baseless charges. My arraignment, as you know, is next Friday. I visit Norfolk quite frequently. My family is in Norfolk. I love my family. And I will defend these charges, and I want everyone to know that it is completely baseless, and I am totally innocent. Thank you.
Okay, here's the thing. I mean, there's like multiple charges, okay? I'm going to get you to the mortgage document that she signed saying that she was just applying for a secondary home loan, which then later in another document turns out to be an income property. And then, of course, don't forget, this is the woman that keeps wanting you to think that she's so darn innocent. She couldn't have done anything wrong. I mean, remember when she went on an MSNBC podcast? You know, that's her favorite territory, and said, this, I promise you, 100% will not result in an indictment. Well, guess what, Tishy, we got news for you. You're indicted. You're facing up to 60 years in the slammer.
To these baseless allegations at the appropriate time and in the appropriate way. But I am 100% confident that it will not result in any criminal indictment or action.
Oh, really? Okay, because I'm 100%. And I mean 100% confident. It just did. Yeah, you've been criminally indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia for lying on your bank records for alleged mortgage fraud, honey pie.
Against me, and that it is nothing more than a revenge tour, and that Donald Trump just ultimately got to the J's, and I was next.
The key allegation, again, it sounds like you don't want to address them here, but I'm just going to put it out so people understand that a property that was owned in Virginia, and a mortgage that you signed, if I'm not mistaken, for that property, that they say you falsely represented yourself as a resident of Virginia, and that was essentially amounts to mortgage fraud since you're a resident of New York. What is your response to that?
It's baseless. Everybody knows I'm a resident of New York, specifically Brooklyn. And again, we will respond at the appropriate time in the appropriate way to these baseless allegations. And some media outlets like the Daily News over the weekend has indicated as much.
Okay, so you say it's baseless.
That's all you want to say.
And that's what, so Chris says, is like, so that's all you want to say? And she says, yeah. So she's since come forward and said this is just a clerical error. Her power of attorney screwed up. I'm sorry. Like, you're an attorney. You're the attorney general of the state of New York. We shouldn't be having screw ups from your power of attorney. But here's the thing. It's not just once, but twice. Oh, and then there was that third time. Well, actually a fourth time, because we can go back 25 years. Don't believe me. We're going to the time that she signed on with Daddy Poo, right? Daddy is now suddenly her husband so that she can get a mortgage back then. I mean, we're seeing a little bit of a track record. All right? A real track record. So she did all that she did, think about it, against Donald Trump, all while simultaneously knowing that she had signed on for this second mortgage. And here's the rider, the second home rider. This was back in August 2020, okay? So they basically had her promise that she was going to live in the home, that this wasn't going to be some kind of rental unit. And yet on another financial disclosure, she called it a rental unit. So which is it? I mean, really, you got a better mortgage rate, you see. You got a much better mortgage rate as a result of this because it gives you a better mortgage rate. That's how the system works, right? I mean, if you think about how it gets stacked, you can stack the deck with the lowest mortgage rate would go for your primary home. And then what happens? Well, when you have a vacation home, you're going to pay a little bit more. And then when you have an income property, you're going to pay the most. So it turns out, according to the Daily Mail, she saved 0.8%, which translated to $17,000 in change, along with some kind of payout around $3,000 at the time. So, that's pocketing $20,000 in her bank account instead of the mortgage lenders. Amazing, right? Amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. And yet she thinks that Trump is weaponizing the government against her. Isn't she the one that told us, hey, people can't get away with this kind of stuff? I do recall that. Let me see if I have it somewhere. Remember when she tweeted out, she said, nobody is above the law, that you absolutely cannot get away with this because it actually hurts everyday folks. Well, Letitia, you yourself were hurting everyday folks. That's pretty apparent. But, you got to look out for your nieces who are in all kinds of trouble with the law. I'm just saying, I know you can't pick your family, but you might want to offer a little guidance for your family. You might not want to be housing people that are running from the law that are supposed to be meeting with their parole officers. Right? I mean, you can't make it up. So yeah, Donald Trump is pretty mad. He thinks the whole thing was weaponized against him, and he's right.
I watch the fake news, and he's weaponized. And he wants to send them to prison. He wants all this. They indicted me like 5 times. I took a mugshot. Who would have thought it turned out to my favor? Because it was a good shot. But I had to take a mugshot. It's right out there on the door. New York Post, front page of every paper in the world. I had a mugshot. They wanted to send me. Nobody says that. They say he's acting very, very tough. He's acting unfair. Let me tell you, if anything, I think this Justice Department has been so respectful of the law, because the other Justice Department, with Rita or Lisa and all of that scum, real scum, what they did to the political opponent of a guy that has a seriously low IQ. Now, in his case, it was low based on his career, but it got real low, okay? It was descending rapidly. But what they did to go after his political opponent is legendary, worse than any third world country, banana republic. And what we're doing is nothing. Are you kidding? Nothing. They write stories. Why aren't they doing this? And there's never been anybody treated in the history of politics. They say the 2 worst treated presidents by the media, etc., was that man right there, the late, great Abraham Lincoln, and this guy right there, Andrew Jackson. They say Andrew Jackson was treated terribly. They give him number 1 and number 2, but that was before I came along, Newt. I say I have number 1 times 10.
Right. He is number 1 times 10, maybe times 100. But you know what? Justice is happening. It's happening. And you think back on what we've all been through. I told Eric Trump yesterday, he was talking about this scandal and everything that his dad was hit with. He now has the number 1 book out, by the way, called Under Siege. And we were talking about this. And it was amazing to me. First of all, his family stayed together through all of it, right? I mean, there were really, really trying times and difficult times. And they went through hell. I mean, really and truly. And I was like, was there ever a time when you were like, hey, Dad, maybe we shouldn't be doing this? And he said, sure, but my dad was a rock. And my dad said to me, we're going to get through this. And he said, okay, Dad, well, we're going to get through it and we're going to be right, or we're going to wind up in jail for the rest of our lives. And he's like, well, we are right, and they are wrong, and this is not fair, and they can't weaponize it. And they can't. I mean, this is what this woman, remember Letitia James, before she was ever Attorney General of the state of New York, she was out campaigning saying she was going to get Trump every day. I mean, I think she swore when she said it too. We had to bleep that out. I want to go to this as well as Byron Donald's reaction to her, which is priceless.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
Wow.
Congressman Donald,
for goodness sakes, she just said it. Like, she didn't know anything. She was just going to go out there and sue him and sue him and sue him and sue him, and then she was going to go home. That was going to be her entire job. Forget about actually running the state of New York. Forget about actually going after real criminals. Forget about, and we did this story. Go back and look at the shows, because I did a whole podcast on this. Forget about any of the money laundering that may have gone on, where they were getting basically the Chinese and the Iranians to launder money through New York, and she just looked away. You got to wonder about that. Now that's a story. Okay, that's a story, because I think they could dig in harder to that one too, because I'd like to know if there were any kickbacks in any of that. Just saying, I'm not alleging anything. I just want to know how that amount of money could have been laundered through New York, going to suspicious places. We did a whole show on it. But anyway, let's go to my friend Byron.
this is nothing to see here. It's just retribution. But that sounds like retribution.
100%. Her entire campaign for Attorney General of New York was to go after one man, and that one man was Donald Trump. She was letting real criminals go. She was letting them go scot-free in New York.
Exactly.
But she ran just to go after President Trump, and it's wrong. It's a misuse of power, abuse of power. And now we find out that she was not on the up and up with her personal documents, and now she wants to feign outrage. Well, look, this is very simple. If you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. It's real simple. But unfortunately, Letitia James, she's indicted because it appears that, yes, she was defrauding mortgage companies to get a favorable down payment and a favorable interest rate, and she thought nobody was going to check.
Yeah. Think of the ego that you must have to think that you're somehow above the law, that nobody's going to check, that you could be, by the way, harboring your fugitive niece there in one, and you get another one with all kinds of problems with the law in the other. I mean, nobody's going to find that out. I mean, what a egomaniac. She's not a very bright woman now, is she? Because she wouldn't have signed on to this mortgage document on top of the other one, which was just a clerical error. I'm sure she'll tell us this is clerical too. You know, we're not buying that. And I think this woman has a track record. I mean, we can go all the way back to the late 80s and we're going to find problems, as we have. Watch.
James tried to prosecute the now President Trump in his second term. I just want to read a couple things. Criminal referral, then a response from James's office here in New York. James, for both properties listed above, this deals with real estate now, going back decades really, appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms, all right? Her office responded by saying the AG James is focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers. Specialist administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She will not be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are. The issue here is what property she owned and whether or not she owned it, whether or not she was married, and whether or not her father was involved in all this. Without going into the weeds of the details, this stems from a case in 1983 and the year 2000. That's a minimum of 25 years. Someone had to do some digging to find this. Am I right about that?
Yeah. Bill, the most I know about the case I just learned from you. I saw it on breaking news this morning. This case was sent to us from Bill Pulte. We have not seen it. I inquired right before I walked out here. No one in my office has read it yet. We haven't looked at it. Of course, we'll be reviewing it. You just told me more than I've heard about it so far.
Hey, we aim to please with some breaking news of our own, indeed. All right, Attorney General Pam.
Well, you know what? She has learned about it now. That was from a couple months ago when this first news came out. So you think about, let's just add them up, okay, guys? You got the mortgage document on the secondary home that it turns out, according to other documents, was not a secondary home, but an income property. Okay, that's actually fraud because you have to promise to live there a certain amount of time. You got the primary residence, which also apparently is fraud. Because in the primary residence, you should be living there full time. And obviously you can't be living there full time if you're the Attorney General of the state of New York, right? Just saying. And then you think about the 25 years ago signing on to dad's mortgage as his wife. What was that about? Oh, she probably wanted to prove that he had some kind of steady income. And she had just graduated from school and thus maybe felt that she had the steady income that would be relevant for him in his mortgage documentation. And I don't know, hey, you can go all in the, hey, DEI, I deserve it, right? I should be able to do this because other people do this. So therefore, I should be able to get my own mortgage and do this, that, and the other. Well, here's the news for you. Other people don't do it. I mean, unless you're Adam Schiff. Okay, other people don't do it. And we're going to get to Adam Schiff in just a moment. But what we've been seeing is a total weaponization of the government against everyday Americans, whether it's Letitia James and what she was doing to Donald Trump, which sets an enormously bad precedent. Just go back to everything I showed you from the courtroom in the appellate court, right? And by the way, what did they do? They threw that out, that nearly $500 million penalty. But there's more to it. One of the things that Eric Trump told us yesterday right here on this show was that he was the most debanked person in the world. He said he lost like 200 accounts. I mean, he had a lot of business accounts, et cetera. He got a call from Capital One in the middle of the night. All his accounts were being shut off. He was debanked. A lot of people were being debanked. Why? Because under the Obama and Biden administrations, regulators pressured banks to close accounts for industries and individuals that they didn't like. It was politically motivated debanking. It trampled on the freedoms of American businesses, on American citizens. It put the government in the business of punishing people it disagreed with. We all went through some version of this, did we not? It's why Eric's book is doing so well, Under Siege, right? Because it's not just a story of what his family went through, but all of us experienced some version of this, with some people actually losing access to their own bank accounts. Well, thankfully, President Trump has taken decisive action to stop this. His executive order calls out regulators who abuse their power and makes clear that debanking must end once and for all, right? For lasting reform, however, it's going to require more than just one order. It's going to require Congress to act. And that is why Americans for Free Markets is a group that I'm happy to partner with this on, to thank President Trump for standing up for freedom and urging Congress to follow in his footsteps and follow his lead, because together they can establish a national fair access standard to prevent services from being denied based on political, social, religious beliefs. I mean, remember that? They were going after Catholics? God help you if you went to Mass in Latin. You had a target on you. It's necessary because we want to bring clarity. We want to bring consistency and long overdue accountability to financial regulation. So to protect the financial freedom of every American, Congress must build on President Trump's leadership, update outdated laws, codify his executive order. Americans for Free Markets is calling on Congress to ensure the abuse of power can never happen again. So go check them out. They're at forfreemarkets.com. I'll tell you, you want to talk abuse of power. Adam Shifty Shift, he was really He was abusing his power every single chance he got. But now he says it's payback. You can call it whatever you want. You're the ones who were screwing up on your mortgage applications, all right? Like Adam, I don't know what to tell you. You can't have two primary homes. You really can't. You know, I used to live in California many, many years ago. Actually, many years ago, back when Gavin Newsom was the mayor of San Francisco. I used to call it Sucks Francisco. I mean, I hated it even then. It's gone downhill significantly. So anyway, in San Francisco, I lived, and we rented a property there, but we owned a home back in New Hampshire. Well, that was a vacation home, okay? It's a vacation home, so you can't declare it a primary residence. It would never have even occurred to me to do that, but guess who did? Shifty Shift. Oh, yeah. He had a house in California and a house in Maryland. So now the Maryland DOJ offices, they are preparing to also indict him. He is reportedly next. You had first James Comey. Then you had Letitia James. Then you had John Bolton just yesterday. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, Shifty Shift is on the way probably next week. Reportedly the next to be indicted there in Maryland. Because you see, a primary residence, when you're applying for a loan, means it's your primary residence. It means that's where you live most of the time, more than 6 months a year. So I get it's tricky. I get that, you're the congressman from California, and you live most of your time in Maryland, but you really can't have two primary houses. Like, even in this particular case, you can't. It's just not allowed from a banking standpoint. And he did it. He did it. And this is a problem. Donald Trump articulated as much recently in the Oval Office. The good thing about him is, you know what? You know what's coming. I mean, I obviously have a lot of sources and a lot of intel, and I share that with you guys. But sometimes, I mean, you don't even need my color on it, right? Because it's out there, out in the open. He said it. Watch.
You're a developer, very successful developer. How does a family afford to live in a one-bedroom apartment?
No, it looks like Adam Schiff really did a bad thing. They have him. Now, let's see what happens. It's not up to me. It's not up to, I stay out of it purposely. But it's mortgage loan fraud. It's a big deal. He defrauded banks and insurance companies and the federal government. But it's very simple. It's mortgage loan fraud. And you're right. It's a lot of people to live in a one-bedroom apartment, right? But he put it down. But he has a lot of other things far worse than that. So, no, Adam Schiff, they have him 100% on mortgage fraud. Now, if there's anybody else in this room except you would have no problem. But anybody else in this room, you'd have a problem. I'd have a problem. Yeah, please.
Oh, you bet he'd have a problem. I mean, they went after him for everything. Multiple indictments. I mean, they were threatening to put his kids in jail. Eric Trump told me yesterday that they were trying to divide and conquer. They were like, well, if you just say this about your dad, then we'll make all this go away. Think about that. These are bad people. I mean, there's no other way to phrase it. Bad people. Donald Trump himself just explained yesterday in the Oval Office.
So we're very happy with the job we're doing. I'm very happy with the job they're doing. But when you tell me about attacking a political opponent, there's never been, and I'm a legitimate opponent. I watched my son. He's got the #1 best-selling book now. My son, Eric, is a wonderful kid. That guy spent so much time with subpoenas. He got more subpoenas than anybody in the history of our country. Think of it. And he's an innocent, good boy. He's a good kid. He's always been a good kid. All of my children are good. They went through hell. My children went through federal grand juries on a hoax. Think of it. You have Adam Schiff and Hillary Clinton and others make up a hoax and then wanting to put, so they know it's a hoax, and they go before the press, say Donald Trump Jr. will go to jail because of what he's done with Russia. I'll never forget, I get a call from my son, Don, and he said, Dad, I'm being accused of something with Russia. I don't know anything about Russia. He didn't know anything about, think of it, how bad they are. They say he'll go to prison for the rest of his life. He knew nothing about it. On a hoax, the Russian hoax, Russia hoax, on a story that they made up. And they made it up in order to explain why Hillary Clinton lost an election that she lost by pretty good numbers. The second one, actually the second one was even better, but the third one, this one was too big to rig. It was just too big to rig. They would have rigged. They tried to rig it. But think of it. They want to send my children to jail, but they were after Don in particular. I'll never forget Adam Shifty Schiff, a total crooked guy, lying in Congress, making up a phone conversation that I have with you, totally made up. Then when he heard it was taped, he wanted to disappear. And Nancy Pelosi went crazy because they wanted to impeach me based on the conversation that was made up. When they heard the tape, everybody, I won it unanimously in the Republican Party. I got every single vote, something that never happens, and I beat it. But think of it, they want to put my son in jail for something that they made up. So they know they made it up. And they say he will serve the rest of his life in prison. These are sick, bad people. And don't tell me about us going after them. If anything, we've been very, very soft. I wouldn't be that soft, I'll tell you that. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's talk.
So, again, the expectation is that at this point in time, you're going to be looking at Adam Schiff, perhaps as early as next week, as the next one to be indicted. And it's because he apparently, allegedly had 2 primary homes, which is just absolutely not allowed. I mean, I can just tell you the IRS does not allow for 2 primary homes, and certainly banks do not allow for 2 primary homes, and that would be seen as a big red flag. And that is exactly ultimately what the FHFA, Bill Pulte's organization, has in fact determined that it was alarming, right? And you know, I point out that he did multiple refinancings, and every single time was declaring both these places as his primary home. It's like, is one bank not talking to the other? That is really bizarre. And now they're going to have to prove intention. Well, what kind of idiot would not know that you can't have 2 primary homes? I mean, isn't Adam Schiff by background also a lawyer? I mean, it's not like he was some Joe Schmo off the street, even though we think he is, right? Adam Schiff was a lawyer. And he's got mortgage documents saying he's got 2 primary homes. Apparently, he knew enough that in 2020, right before he was going to run for Senate, he decided to change it and then declared the Maryland home his secondary residence. But I got to tell you guys, he's going to be facing a lot of trouble. And I don't feel bad for him at all. I think he was one of the most corrupt. I mean, all of these people were just bonkers. Just bonkers. And like they clearly never played any team sports. He wanted to be an actor, and then he wanted to be a producer, and none of that worked out. So I guess he went to law school and became a politician. And that's not really working out for him either now, is it? So Adam Schiff, disaster, clearly doesn't have any kind of team sensibility. I mean, all these people are like, me, right? They are all about themselves. They don't and didn't want to help Donald Trump and the Republicans when the Republicans beat Hillary, because God forbid Donald Trump, the reality star, the builder, could possibly come along and beat one Hillary Clinton, who was handpicked, anointed for the job. I mean, she was supposed to be the first woman president of the United States of America, right? She'd been angling for that ever since her days at Yale. I mean, why else did she put up with Bill Clinton for so long? That didn't work out very well for her. And I think Obama couldn't quite take it. Obama was angry. And then you fast forward to what Tulsi Gabbard has shown us, and what you see is a really, really sketchy group of people that were willing to do things that, you know, I just got to tell you, I know politics is bad. And I know the media is bad, but, you know, there's some still, you know, core idealistic part of me that thinks people can't really be like that. Why would you ruin another human being's life? Why would you try and bankrupt them or put them in jail for no reason at all? Like, just because they're a political threat to you, because they might win the election? Like, who cares? We're still a country. We move on. They couldn't move on. And that's what's so insanely bad about all this. Adriano, thank you for the generosity. I'm seeing a lot of super chats. I want to get to that. We'll go back and talk to all the super chats before the end of the show. But I'll tell you this. He's got it coming. He says he didn't do anything wrong. He says this is just retribution. I'm sick of hearing that. I think you probably... I mean, I don't know how else to explain this. I don't know how you have 2 primary homes. I think you probably did something wrong, right? Like, and whether the intent was there, I mean, you're going to play dumb on this one? You went to law school. Can't be that dumb. Any idiot knows you can't have 2 primary homes, period. End of story. It's not that hard. Quick shout out to 76 Research, my company that I own. Look at this, guys. Look at this American Resilience portfolio. Tech up 67%. One of our picks there. We got a materials pick in the inflation protection portfolio up 85%. A financials pick up 50%. We've just had a really, really good run. I'm super proud of it. I want you to go to 76research.com. You can get all the portfolios at 76portfolios.com. If you go to 76research.com, you can just sort of, you can dabble in this. You can dabble in this because you can use code word dollar, and it's just just $1 a month for the first 2 months, and you can get all of my research. Rob and I just published a piece actually last night about effectively the debasement, right, of the U.S. currency that's been going on, and the reasons why gold is going up so much, the reasons why Bitcoin has become so popular. Bitcoin's interesting because it's not just the debasement trade, but I think also a bet on the future of technology that's embedded in that as well. So go to 76research.com. Start investing today. Tom Homan, woo! Tom Homan is getting mad. Brand new video of Tom Homan walking right outside the White House. There's this like a little media row that you have to walk into before you would go into like that area where they have the press conferences, and you go through the security check, and then you like walk through, and there's all of these sort of little tents where the media is set up. And so he's walking through this, and they start shouting questions at him about the alleged bribe he took, which he's already come out and said this is bogus. The White House has come out and said it's bogus, and he was already in a rush. He had no time of day for them. Let's watch. Okay, so there's the tents I told you about. He's walking along. Mr. Homan? Mr. Homan, they shout.
I don't have time today, folks. I'm 20 minutes late.
I'm 20 minutes late for something.
Did you take the $50,000 cash in the bag?
Did you hear that? They said, did you take a $50,000 bribe? And he's like, give me a break. I'm sick of this from you peeps, okay? And I got to tell you, he's saying this is not true. The White House is saying it's not true. I mean, I look at it, right, as a journalist, and I'm like, how does this all come out? Like, what was this? Was this some kind of weird sting operation where we're only getting half the story, that the FBI allegedly set him up because they wanted to? I mean, think about what we went through with Russia, and the so-called dirty dossier, right? I mean, Rachel Maddow and company over on MSNBC, and forgive me, it wasn't just MSNBC, it was the entire media establishment, from the New York Times to ABC News to NBC News, you name it. They were all in on this was somehow fact. So much fact that in fact, pun intended, you had Jimmy Carter, the now deceased Jimmy Carter, before he died, coming out and saying, well, he's not a legitimate president because he was put in place by the Russians. Like, these people are pretty unbelievable. So as an American, like, what are you to believe? I'll tell you what, I'm pretty simple at this point. I believe Tom Homan. Watch what he said.
I know George Stephanopoulos is one of your best friends. Mm-hmm. He convicted you on television, okay, of a $50,000 bribe.
That's really important what Bill O'Reilly just said there. He convicted you on television of a $50,000 bribe. This is what Stephanopoulos was saying on his weekend show. I'll show it to you. He's got the vice president, right, on for an interview, and all he can talk about is Tom Homan because somebody is trying to take out Tom Homan. Why? Oh, because Tom Homan is serious about border crossings, and he's not putting up with anybody's BS. Let's go.
Stephanopoulos did this on ABC. The vice president, J.D. Vance, defended you. And I thought he did so pretty well, because due process is important. Do you want to clarify anything about that situation?
I didn't take $50,000 from anybody.
Okay. How did that get into the mainstream, do you think?
I have no idea. Look, there's been hit pieces on me since I came back to this administration. There's got to be 30, 40 hit pieces on me about how I'm involved with contracts and government contracts, when in fact, day one I came back, I recused myself from any discussions on any contract or any monetary decisions like that, because I used to have a company that did consulting. So I cleared myself day one. What people don't talk about is I took a significant, huge pay cut to come back and serve my nation. And I'm not enriching myself doing this job.
Does this make you angry that they're coming at you this way?
I don't care what people think about me and never have. No, because I know who I am. I work for the greatest president in the history of this nation, in my opinion, and we're doing the right thing every day.
Okay.
You know, he did take a pay cut. And I think that that's a very important sort of aspect of this. He feels a patriotic duty to do what he's doing. It's not because he needs to go and take bribes. So he just denied it right there. So what I'm telling you guys, what I'm telling you is that he needs to take this further. Thank you, by the way. I'm looking at QT. Thank you for the generosity. We got a whole bunch of very generous folks here on this Friday evening. I really appreciate it. Adriano as well. I'm glad that you feel relaxed when you listen to my show. I'm definitely glad to hear that. Anyway, the point being that Tom Homan is there for a reason, because he wants to help this country and he wants to help this president. And yet look at what they're trying to do to him. They're trying to destroy him. And I'm telling you, I don't buy it. I don't believe it. And I really am at the point now where, you fool me once, shame on me, right? You fool me twice. How's it go? You fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me. And that's the thing, because we've been lied to over and over and over and over again. And at some point, enough is enough. Incidentally, I have more to do on this story, but I am just pinning my Spotify show actually to the top of our chat, of our live chat. If you get a chance, please go over there and subscribe to it. It would be really great, because we only have 13,000 subs over there. And I'm trying to, we got to keep up appearances here, guys. We're at 1.1 million. I love it. I love it. I love it. But the show always airs. If you don't catch me live, you get the replay over there as well. So thank you. But the point being with Tom is that, of course, he should be livid, because this is what went down last Sunday on Georgie Poo's show. Georgie, who's already had to pay $16 million, well, his network, because he libeled the president of the United States, who was then running for office on live television, and he seems to have no problem libeling anybody he can.
I don't know what tape you're referring to, George. I saw media reports that Tom Homan accepted a bribe. There's no evidence of that. And here's, George, why fewer and fewer people watch your program and why you're losing credibility. Because you're talking for now 5 minutes with the Vice President of the United States about this story regarding Tom Homan, a story that I've read about, but I don't even know the video that you're talking about. Meanwhile, low-income women can't get food because the Democrats and Chuck Schumer have shut down the government. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to pay our troops because Chuck Schumer has shut down the government. You are focused on a bogus story. You're insinuating criminal wrongdoing against a guy who has done nothing wrong, instead of focusing on the fact that our country is struggling because our government's shut down. Let's talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
No, George, I said that I don't.
Up next, we'll be right back.
Oldest trick in the book, okay? Oldest trick in the book. The anchor shuts the other person down. In this case, the Vice President of the United States. By the way, Donald Trump didn't appreciate that. He came out the next day and had some nasty things to say about ABC fake news, as he called it. Let me just give you some more specificity around this. The Justice Department closed this investigation. It was initiated under the previous administration. Oh gosh darn, that administration that was constantly weaponizing itself against all of us, right? I got more on that, because 30 million phone records were confiscated. They illegally, I can't say wiretap, because the New York Times has a problem with that. You got to be technically correct. It was called tolling. They gathered metadata on all kinds of people and came up with 30 million phone records that then they were tracking in order to try and map out the MAGA movement. Charlie Kirk's group included in that. Anyway, they were going after Homan in previous administration. Reuters, of course, Reuters, were they getting USAID money? Probably, because, Reuters, as I recall, they had all those overseas publications. So take it to Reuters, right? Reuters came out with a story saying that Homan allegedly accepted $50,000 in a bag of cash from undercover agents who posed as business executives. Apparently, according to Homan, this was all true. He never accepted $50,000. He did formerly have a consulting business. Ultimately, the investigation, which was again initiated under the other team, was shut down by the Department of Justice, who found after an internal review no credible evidence of any kind of criminal wrongdoing. And so I'm just saying, if ABC wants to keep running with that story, maybe it's time for Homan to fire back. I think he might actually do it. Just sue them, okay? Sue them out of business. Well, then you also have the whole issue of, are they really serving the public good? They are on FCC airwaves after all. I mean, you can say whatever you want, right? Freedom of speech, First Amendment, I'm all for it. But you're on ABC News. I've worked in network news. You actually have to be more careful in network news, or at least you used to. I mean, it's a whole new ballgame. As long as you're anti-Trump, it's totally fine. And so that's what they were doing. That's what they did. And you got to start asking real questions about all of it, because more is coming out. The weaponization was severe. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, the president of the United States, releasing a lot of info, and we're getting it day by day. We're going to get more. They just fired a whole bunch of FBI spies that were tracking the phone records. You know the story of 8 sitting U.S. senators and a congressman, along with 92 organizations that were somehow associated with the MAGA movement. So things like Turning Point USA, for goodness sakes. And I'll tell you, you know who said it well? John Solomon. They were trying to map us out. They were trying to figure out who mattered and strike us down and get rid of us, debank us, do whatever they could to make sure that we collectively did not have a voice.
The committee gets up and running in 2022. They go out and get this massive dragnet of phone records, 30 million. You don't need 30 million phone calls to figure out what was going on January 6th. What were they doing? They were mapping the MAGA movement with every piece of data they could. It was basically creating an enemies list. That's what the J6 committee was doing in this project. And think about the scope and scale of what they've now done. 30 million lines of phone records trying to figure out everybody who talked to the Trump White House. 92 groups, including Charlie Kirk's TPUSA and everybody else in the conservative movement. 8 members of Congress in the Senate, 1 member of the Congress in the House. They were mapping an enemies list. This was an investigation purportedly to solve what happened at the Capitol, that instead was trying to figure out who are the movers and shakers in the MAGA movement that we can stop in 2024.
You hear that? It's incredible. I was on one platform that I got shut down for well over a year on because I shared a story about Hunter Biden's laptop. And I have friends that were knocked off all kinds of platforms. And they did this under the guise of threatening these companies. I mean, you heard what Mark Zuckerberg said about it all on Joe Rogan's show, saying that his team was getting all this pressure from the White House. And they were sort of like threatening all of these companies, and they were using their ability to target these companies in order to get them to do certain things and to shut down certain accounts. It's actually illegal. You can't do that. I mean, granted, if Facebook doesn't want Trish Regan on, I guess they have a right to say we don't want Trish Regan on. They're a private company. But when you have the government going and saying we don't want Trish Regan on, that's a whole different can of worms. Like, that needs to come out as well. What happened should never have happened. Not in the United States of America. It is what you call banana republic kinds of stuff. David, thank you so much. I'm glad you liked the show today. It's good to see you back here. Unc Andy, we've got a lot of our, Dawn is here, everybody, my whole team, right? I'm looking for Leslie. Anyway, it never should have happened. Cat Crazy, good to see you. Never, ever, ever. And it can't ever happen again. You with me? It can never happen again. And so if it takes payback, retribution, you call it whatever you want to call it, I just want to make sure that no one's going to be out there like a Letitia James trying to take down somebody who's considered a political enemy. Because that's not a country we want to live in. That's not the country we know. That's not what we were ever supposed to be. So all of this nonsense, from the trans junk and, who competes in women's sports, boys sports, to the DEI movement, we're going to award somebody a job based on the color of their skin. I'm sorry, we got a constitution. You can't do that. Like, you just can't do that. Let the best man or woman win, I say, right? The meritocracy that has made the United States of America the country it is because of the freedom to allow everybody a fair shot. Because you don't judge them by the color of their skin. For goodness sakes, these people are more racist than they ever dreamed of being, aren't they? Really and truly. And now Donald Trump comes along and says, hey, I'm going to help you. I'm going to clean up Chicago for you. And they say, don't you dare. This is a total infringement on our rights. Don't come near us. I don't think so. I don't think so. We got some real problems, and we need to make sure that we actually do make this country safer for every single American. I will say this. Donald Trump figured a great workaround. He figured out how to go direct to the people. I mean, that's why they tried to shut off all the social media, but he knew how to go direct. He didn't need the networks. I don't need a network. I'm right here with you. No teleprompters. I don't have 40 people in the studio checking my hair and makeup constantly. I just do it myself now. It's better that way. You know, a little flatter. I had some really big hair back in the day, but that was, that's all in operation. This is so much more authentic. This is so much more real. And yes, he's better at social media. I'm telling you, he gets it. Here's a funny example. We put this in the shorts feed. Watch. The White House tweeted it out.
Republicans have been appealing to audiences, especially young people like myself, online using social media. Why does Republican messaging on social media seem so much more effective than Democratic messaging?
Well, that's a great question. I think the Republicans are effective. They have learned a lot about social media. And by the way, it doesn't hurt that their friends own all of the major social media platforms.
Or maybe they just have a much better sense of humor. They do, right? They really do. Justin, thank you so much. Posting another super chat for my rant on meritocracy. I can rant, believe me. I could sit here for 3 hours and rant. I try not to rant too much because I want to make sure you guys see all the elements, all the stuff that's in the news, and make sure that you get a full, complete show. But maybe I'll come on over the weekend and we'll have a rant for the members channel because I know Donna's been after me to do that. Look, Chicago's a mess. They don't want to take his help. It's crazy. LA, same thing. They don't want to take his help. I can tell you this. Some news just came in. The Trump administration is taking this all the way to the Supreme Court. This is a big deal. They just announced, actually, that they're moving this one forward. The Trump administration on Friday asked for the Supreme Court to allow the deployment of National Guard troops in the Chicago area. So, according to AP, they're escalating President Trump's conflict with Democrat governors. Are they really escalating it? Or is it actually Chicago? Because, you know, they were able to help clean up D.C. lickety-split because the Democrat mayor was not willing to stand in the face of it. She's like, yeah, I need the help. I need the money. I need law enforcement. Bring it on. And so they did, and they had great success. And now they got to go to the Supreme Court because they're like, Chicago's a mess. They're creating in Chicago all of these ICE area what should we call them? Ice-free zones, right? That's Brendan Johnson's ice-free zones now being challenged. Challenged by Trump. I'm putting this on the screen for you. In Supreme Court. And this is massive, okay? This is a big deal. So again, the article just coming out moments ago here, we see that the Trump administration is actually moving forward, requesting that the Supreme Court take this on because, hey, if Chicago's a mess and Chicago is a challenging place for anybody to live, does the federal government not have some responsibility to make sure things are a little bit better? No, according to Pritzker, this is somehow an attempt to steal the election. Think about that logic. He has come out and said he's trying to steal the election. That's all this National Guard thing is about. I'm like, oh, maybe it's about trying to keep people safe. Maybe people in the city of Chicago deserve to be a little bit safe. I mean, I've been looking on TikTok. I've been looking on YouTube. I've been looking all over. And what I keep seeing over and over again is a lot of people in Chicago saying, please come here. Please come here, Donald Trump. I am sick of the way things are going. Here's a guy. They're painting the town red out in Chicago.
I don't know how it go in your city, town, state, but in Chicago, when we go vote, you always got 2-3 women at the door telling you to vote all Democrat. They don't give you the history of nobody. They don't tell you what neighborhoods these people from. They tell everybody in line, just vote blue. I'm done, bro. I'm voting red.
It's happening. Yeah. It's happening. And they don't like it. And so they're going to fight it. They're going to accuse him of all kinds of crazy things all over again. It's like, here we go. And I'm just saying this. You know what? We have to stand up to it. Because we can't live in a country like that. It's good to have you all here. Thank you for subscribing. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, make a comment. I do read the comments late at night on the show. So do what you can. Spread the word. Go follow me on Spotify. And we'll catch up over the weekend. Thank you.